Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's your girl Becca Wale. If you're new here, thank you for stopping by. For my last video, I noticed that I had some few followers, so I just want to take this time to appreciate my followers. I really appreciate all the love, the welcome backs, wishes. I'm really grateful. So I'm a little bit down with cold. My son is sick, and if he's sick and I'm taking care of him, I'm also sick. So I'm currently down with a cold. So I've been inside for a few days. So I decided to come outside and enjoy the weather. It's actually beautiful outside. So I was like, why not do this video outside? So if you hear like voices or whatever, is this, other people are here too. So I don't even know where to begin, but I just want to say, please subscribe, like, comment. I always love to hear from you guys. So today is a story time of labor and delivery. And my labor and delivery story is something that I'll never, ever forget. So I don't even know where to even start from. So just bear with me. So my son was supposed to, his due date was August the 1st. And the time I was going in for my prenatal visit, he wasn't like, when they check and all that stuff, he wasn't in the position where he needs to be. His head was down, but he wasn't like down, like all the way down. So he was a little bit high. His head was a little bit high. So my OB was always like, okay, she was like, if by, I think she was like, if the baby is not by, hold up, if the baby is not head down by 41 weeks, he will like there's other options, or like I will have to get induced or something. So like she was just saying like, okay, if the baby's head is not down by 41 weeks, there's an option of being induced. And if I don't want to be induced, like she was telling me that there's a, by I think by over 41 weeks the placenta starts to get old, and the functions start to basically get weak and stuff. So I was like, okay. And to be honest, I did not want to get induced, because like I've heard so many stories of, I've watched videos, I've heard stories of like, oh, getting induced is so bad, it's even worse than you actually going to labor and all that stuff. So I was like, I don't know if I want to get induced. So I think I was already 40 weeks. So I remember I started taking pineapple, eating pineapples, going for walks. I was doing all the things that, forget to get baby out. But homeboy was like, nope, I'm not ready yet. And for me, I think at that point I was tired, sleeping was just not going, it was just not going well. And even to turn, my husband had to help me to turn. Like I felt like I was such a fat person, and it was so funny. I was just tired. So I told my husband, I was like, okay, if the baby doesn't come by this time, I'm just gonna go with it. And I prayed about it, and I remember I told my pastor, I was like, okay, this is what's going on. And I told and I told my family, my close family, and that this was going on. And I prayed about it. I talked to my husband about it, and we were just like, okay, if it's God's will, fine. If it's God's will for the baby to come out on its own, that's also fine. So we were like, okay, that's fine. I think then they scheduled us for I think it was supposed to be Wednesday that we're supposed to go in. And that day, for some reason, the hospitals were all like, the beds, there was no beds. I guess they were full on that day, and there were a lot of people getting induced for some reason. And so they were like, okay, when the beds are ready, we'll call you, and then we'll let you come in. So I was like, okay, fine. So that day I was chilling, so I told my husband, I was like, okay, if they don't call me by tomorrow, I want to do some last minute shopping. I wanted to get some stuff for the house or something like that. So the Thursday, that's when they called. So they called me, and they were like, oh, you can come in now, just eat something and come. I was like, okay, fine. So I was just like, well, I guess next time I'll do my shopping next time. So we went in, and everything was going well. I had dinner. I think around 5 or 6, that's when they started the process. And I think, did they give me the Pitocin first? I don't even remember. I think they started me off with the Pitocin, and then I think few hours, and the contraction started. Ooh. The contraction started, I think, around 9. So the contraction really started around 9, and I was telling my husband, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna see how much I can take it before I get that epidural. But I told the nurse, I was like, okay, because she asked me, it was like, okay, what, like, what do you want when you can't bear the pain or whatever? So I was like, I definitely gonna take the epidural, but I wanted to see how my body move, like, goes, and how much I can take, because I know it's painful, it's supposed to be painful, but I just wanted to see how much pain I can take. So around 9 it started, and then it was going okay, till I couldn't take it anymore. So I think around 12, yeah, I think around midnight going to 1, I was telling my husband, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna call them now and let them give me the epidural, because that pain was, I don't even know how to describe it, to be honest, because I know a lot of people are being like, oh, it's like cramps, but I feel like it's worse than cramps. And for me, mine was like the back. My lower back was just on fire. My lower back was just, yeah, it was just, I just can't explain. I just can't explain it. So I remember I called in the doctor, well, the nurse, and I was like, I'm ready for the epidural now. So they called in the guy that was supposed to give me the epidural, and it was getting so bad, because it actually took some time. The hospital that I went, they were so busy that you have to wait long for them to get to you. It almost felt like there was only one doctor taking care of everybody. That's how it felt like, because by the time I told them that I want that epidural, it took some time, maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes for them to come in. And you can just imagine, like, I was at that point that I'm like, I can't take it anymore. And then I have to wait a little bit, because of this guy is also giving epidurals to other people. So I managed. I was just, my husband was there. He was very supportive. So shout out to him. He was very supportive, praying and holding my hands. I was squeezing him. I felt so bad for his poor hands, but there was nothing much I can do. I mean, I could have done. So the guy finally came, and then that's when, it's time now to get the epidural. So I've heard so many stories about getting epidural. I've heard that, oh, it hurts, it really hurts. To be honest, for me, I really didn't feel the pain of the epidural. All I could feel was the contractions. That's the only thing I could feel. So the epidural was not bad at all for me. I don't know for everybody, but for me, it was not bad at all. The only thing that made it bad is the fact that I was in pain, and I had to be in this position for a while whilst the guy was putting the epidural, and I couldn't move, and my lower back was the one that was hurting. So you can just imagine, I want to move, the position that I was in was very uncomfortable, and I couldn't move. I had to be still so he can put it, and I've heard stories of like, oh, if you shake, you get paralyzed. If this happens, blah, blah, blah. So all that I was going through, I was like, Becca, don't shake, don't move, don't move, don't move. So I was so much in pain. I was just there. I was like, oh God, I want to move. But it wasn't because of the epidural. It was just because of the contraction. And when I felt that cold liquid going in my back, I was just like, yes, it's inside, it's in. And my husband was like, he said he wanted to pass out. I don't know, because I couldn't see what was really going on. So he saw like everything going, how, I guess, I don't know how they do it. I don't think I've watched a video of getting a epidural, so I don't know, like, he saw everything. So he was like, you're strong and blah blah blah. He was like, wow. Which was funny to me, but I was like, okay, so I got the epidural, and it actually took some time, but it wasn't too long, maybe I think 10-15 minutes. everything was starting to go down. I was like, yes. I was so happy. I was telling my husband, I was like, God bless epidurals. Whoever came up with epidurals, God bless them. I was like, yes. I was so happy. Like, I could talk. I even slept so good. My husband said I just passed out. I don't even know how I slept. So it was good. So I woke up, I think, yeah. So then when you get the epidural, like, from Thursday, that I was in bed, I haven't, like, I couldn't get up to, since no, actually, I went to use the bathroom till they put the epidural. That's when, like, okay, I had to stay in bed. And then I couldn't eat or anything. I was just drinking. So, like, when I was in the hospital, I was drinking coconut water and then my water, and I think I had some tea, but those were the only things I was drinking, to be honest. So Friday got here, and then it was Friday. Everything was going well. That epidural was good. Had some visitors. Family came, and then, and then I don't know what happened to that epidural or what's. It's so funny, man, thinking about. I don't even know what happened to the epidural because I remember I was talking to one of my girlfriends and she called me. She was like, that you have gotten the epidural, right? I was like, yeah, because I was talking. I was like, God, I was so happy. And then around 5 or 6, that's when I started feeling everything again. And I called the nurse. I'm like, I don't know what's going on with the epidural, but it stopped working. And they were like, oh, it happens and blah, blah, blah. I was like, what? I thought once you get the epidural, that's it. You're not going to feel anything anymore. And yeah, you're just going to be numb. You can't feel anything no more. So I'm like, what do you mean? Like, it happens, this, like, she was telling me something else. I'm just like, that's not what the people told me. That's not what I've been hearing. A lot of people have been telling me, like, once you get that epidural, that's it. You don't feel anything, you're numb, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, why am I feeling the contractions again? And this time it's going bad. I was like, why? So they was like, okay, just keep pumping, because they gave me this button to, like, to give myself, like, more doses and stuff. So I kept pressing the thing. I'm like, this thing is not working, it's not helping me out. And it was so funny because then my husband was laughing at me, especially my mother-in-law was laughing at me because she was like, she was laughing at me. And my father-in-law came in to pray, and I felt so bad because him and my mom were in the room and they were praying, and I was so much in pain. By the time they finished praying, I couldn't even say amen. That's how much pain I was in. And I was like, you know what? I was telling my mom, I was like, I feel like pooping. I don't know why, but I feel like pooping. She was like, well, that means you want to push. That's good. And I'm like, no, this is really, really painful. Like, it's even bad than the first contraction or before I got the epidural. So I kept on calling. I felt so sorry for the nurses, but they did a good job. They were very patient because the time the amount of time that I've been calling them, I was calling. I'm like, I'm feeling this pain. I think I want to push. I don't know what's going on, but please check me. And that time I was already from I think Friday morning I was already 10 centimeters. So I was at 10 centimeters for a long period of time because I thought once you hit 10, it's time to go. It's time to push and yeah, baby's out. But I was at 10 centimeters for a couple of hours. So then that's when my doctor came in, the midwife that was supposed to deliver the baby came in, and she checked to see how or where the baby was or stuff. So she was like, I know you're ready to push and stuff, but it's not time yet because the baby's head is a little bit up. And I'm like, what do you mean? I was so oh my God. I was so in distress. I was so mad. I was just like, oh my God. I was telling my husband, I don't know how much I can take anymore. But then I just kept on being patient. I was like, you know what? I just want this baby to come out. So if the baby's head, I'm wait a little bit longer. So This was going on. It was 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. No, I think, yeah, so it was like 9, 10. And then I was like, I have to push this baby out because I'm feeling too much pain and I feel like pooping. And yeah, so I called in the doctor again and they were like, okay, well, if you want to push, let's push. So we started pushing, I think around 9 or 10. 1 second. We started pushing around 9 and 10, around 9 or 10. And how do I feel about the pushing? To be honest, because I know during the pregnancy, I was so curious, like, how is the pushing going to feel like? How does it feel to actually push? Or when to know? Like, I had so many questions. But when it was time to push, my nurse that I had, she was such a motivator, and she was like, oh, you got this, Becca, you got this, you got this. Like, she was pumping me up. So I was like, yeah, I got this, I'm gonna push this baby out. Like, she was pumping me up, which was good because at that moment you need somebody to like push you and motivate you, and that you can do this. And I felt really good, like confident, like, yeah, I can do this and stuff. So I started pushing and pushing. To be honest, it just felt like you're pushing out a big poop. That's how it feels like to be. I really didn't feel like much of like what I was feeling was contraction, but I didn't really feel like the pressure, or I didn't feel like the pressure or actually me pushing like that. All I was just feeling was the contractions when the contractions were coming in. So we started pushing. 1 hour went by, and my doctor was like, the baby's head is still up. Just pushing. And then 2 hours went by. And in my mind, I'm like, is this supposed to be this long? Because, I've been watching videos of people like, 20 minutes, baby's out, 15 minutes, baby's out. So 2 hours passed, and that's when my doctor finally just decided to be honest with me, which I really appreciated it because, the nurse was really pumping me, yes, you got this, you got this, you got this. But really, I didn't get anything. Like, I wasn't there. She was just pumping me up. So my doctor was just like, you know what, this is the situation. I'm like, okay. I put on my big pants. I'm like, I'm ready for this. What's up? So she was like, I forgot what is it my cervix? I think it was my cervix. Something was small, that where the baby was supposed to pass through is small. And my baby is big. He was 7 pounds. And to be honest, my sisters, because my sister's baby, they're like in between like the 5 pounds. So my baby was big. And she was like, and your cervix is small. I think it's the cervix. I'm not sure. Where the baby's supposed to pass through is small. So, and the baby head is a little bit high. So I was like, okay, what does that mean? Like, so she said, if I want to continue pushing, it might take the whole night. And to be honest, hearing that was just like, what? Because I just felt like it's already past 2.5 hours, and I felt like I have gave in all my energy doing push, because it took work to push. You need energy to push, and I haven't eaten. This is Friday now. I haven't eaten. No, well, this is Saturday now because it already passed midnight. We were like 1 o'clock going to 2, and I was like, okay, this is Saturday now. I haven't eaten, and I'm getting tired, and you're telling me that I could be pushing for the whole night. And I'm like, okay, what's my other option? So that's when she was like, or your other option is C-section. So then I asked her, I was like, okay, what are the pros and cons? Because I want to look at the pros and cons of whatever I decide to do. So she was like, well, this is the pros, this is the cons. So I looked at my husband, because I told my husband, I'm like, I'm tired, because they even noticed that I was tired. I was already like at that point that, you're tired basically, and I don't have much energy to continue pushing because it's been hours and I've been drained out and I just don't have the energy. So I looked at my husband and I was like, okay, what should we do or what? So my husband was like, okay, what do you think? Whatever you decide to do, I'm okay with it. So I was like, okay, let's do the C-section because you know I want this baby out. The pain is just too much. I've been going through this pain from Thursday, Friday, and yeah, it's getting too much. And yeah, so that's when I signed the papers. I was like, okay, let's do the C-section. I was scared. We called the family and told them what's going on because my family kept on checking on me, which I really appreciate. If they're watching, I know they will. If they're watching the video, I really, really appreciate my sister, my mom, and my in-laws and friends for checking on me when we're in the hospital. I really, really, really appreciate it because they kept on calling my husband, what's going on, what's happening, is she okay? Like they kept on coming, checking, and I really, really appreciated that. And one thing I've realized, like when you're going, I really appreciate the fact that my husband was there and close people in my family were there because it's not easy to go through labor and delivery by yourself. So I really want to give it a props to like single mothers that go into labor and delivery by themselves and they don't have no support system. Because if I didn't have my husband, God, because I didn't even have the time to even pray. They were the one backing me up, holding my hands to pray, to motivate me. My husband was there, like, when the nurses come in, like, he's there checking, looking, asking questions. Like, if I didn't have my family, my husband with me, like, I don't know how I would have gone through the labor and delivery process, to be honest. So I really want to give props to single mothers out there that have gone through labor and delivery by themselves. Like, there's no husband, there's no boyfriend or whatever, or your partner, and they have to go through that by themselves because you need somebody. You need God, you need your family, you need close people to go through that. So back to the story. Don't mind me, like I said, I have a cold, so I'm a little bit all over the place. So then after I signed the papers, I think, like I said, it took a while. I think it took maybe 30 minutes, close to an hour, for them to actually come and take me to the room where I was, for them to do the surgery. So, cause like my doctor that delivered my baby, like she was also delivering other women, like they were all delivering other babies. So it's like, I don't know. I think they were just short in staff, or they were just short on staff. So there was just So you basically have to wait your turn. You basically have to wait, and it was crazy. So we finally got to the room, and it was time to start the process. How do I feel about surgery? Or because basically it's the surgery, so I don't even how I felt about the C-section was I don't know, because like I said, I've been hearing so much stories. I mean, I'm grateful that I went through the process because next time I'm not going to listen to anybody because everybody's experience is different. That's one thing I've learned about pregnancy and labor and delivery. Everybody's experience, pain level is different. What may be painful for me might not be painful for you. What you could handle, I may not be able to handle it. Because C-section, I've heard stories, once they give you that epidural and stuff, you don't feel anything, they numb you and whatever. I felt everything, so I don't know what they're talking about. For me, in my own experience, once they started the process, and then the cuts and stuff, I didn't feel it, but I knew that okay, they're cutting me up or they're opening me up, but I just didn't feel the pain. I just know I can feel like somebody's touching and doing stuff on my belly. when it was time for them to pull the baby out, yes, I felt it. I was screaming in that place. I it was so bad. It was so bad. I was screaming because I think they used the vacuum because it felt like they were sucking, they were pulling. Oh my god! Because it felt like it felt like a vacuum. I think they did use the vacuum to get him out, and I was screaming. I was yelling for my life in there. And then all of a sudden, I started losing consciousness. Because all of a sudden, I just started telling my husband, because my husband was right next to me. I was telling my husband, please pray for me, please pray for me, please pray for me. At that moment, I just felt like I was losing it. Like I was about to pass out or die or something. It was so scary. And at some point, I don't even know what happened. It was my husband that was telling me that, oh, you actually passed out. Because Lord have mercy. And one thing I want to say, when you go to labor and delivery, pray, 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 pray. One thing I was doing from the time I found out that I was pregnant to all the way in, I kept on praying. Praying for whoever is going to deliver my baby, praying for the nurses and everything, the hospital. Pray, 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 because the enemy will come when you least expect it. Because the amount of attacks I was getting was a lot. From pregnancy, they didn't stop. They kept, to labor and everything. It was a lot. So if as soon as you find out that you're pregnant, start praying. Just start covering, because all my nurses were nice. Even the doctor that delivered my baby did a good job, and the hospital experience was not bad at all, and even though like I passed out, it was painful and everything, I thank God, because I've heard stories and testimonies of people, doctors making mistakes and things happening in the hospital. So I really thank God for God being there for us and pulling us through, because if it wasn't for him, I don't know, to be honest. I don't know how I would have gone through all that without him. So, my husband just told me, like, I passed out. By the time I opened my eyes, I just saw myself. I just saw my husband holding the baby. And then everything was just like, what? And then the fact that this baby was a surprise baby. That's a story for another time, because I knew that the baby was going to be a boy. I kept saying it's a boy, it's a boy, it's a boy, it's a boy. A lot of people were saying it's a boy, it's a boy. And I wanted to find out the gender. The day I wanted to find out the gender, the baby decided not, like, there's just so many stories. The baby decided to close up. So we couldn't find out the gender. So I was like, okay, maybe the baby doesn't want us to know the gender. So and my husband wanted it to be a surprise. So we just kept it like, okay, it's going to be a surprise baby. So when I looked, by the time everything was done, when I looked, and then my husband was holding the baby, and he was just like, it's here. And then he was like, it's a boy. I was like, what? Yes, I was so happy. I was so happy. And every pain, everything was like, that's like out of the window. Baby's here. And yeah, it just meant everything to me. So basically, that was my labor and delivery story, to be honest. It was a long process, but I really thank God for, even though it wasn't as, it didn't go as planned. But I want to trust that, whatever happens, like, God saw it and God allowed it to happen for a reason. So I just want to thank God for safe delivery, because that's the most important thing. Safe delivery, healthy baby. My baby was healthy, and I was healthy. I was fine. The only thing that was wrong with me, I think, was I was low on blood, so I had to be taking iron pills to get my blood level back, but we were fine. And yeah, basically that's it. So, but if you have any questions of, you know, pregnancy or breastfeeding, whatever questions that you may have, just put it down below. And I'm sorry, hold on. If you have any questions, just comment down below, like this video, share it, and hopefully soon you guys will get to see baby Molly. But right now, we're not ready yet, but soon you will see him, and he's just the cutest thing. And especially when he smiles, oh my god, he just lights up the room, and we're so grateful for him, because he's the baby that we prayed for, and then God answered our prayers. So yeah, everything that we wanted, it's in, I don't want to get emotional, so I will stop right there. But I'll see you guys on my next video. This is your girl. Comment below, like, share, and please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys soon.